Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your daily dose of zombies news from the game and its community here on COD Zombies HQ. Thank you so much for tuning in today, where finally Treyarch has released its first major update since the release of DLC 4 Forsaken. It includes a lot of changes and fixes that I know a lot of people have been complaining about and asking for, and it doesn't include others that we hope to see in the future, but we'll go over all of that today, kicking things right off with our first story of the day. The first area of changes that Treyarch has made specifically to the DLC 4 Forsaken map is in regards to some of its Easter eggs, where firstly, specifically for the main Easter egg on the map, they say that crystals will now respawn during the escort section of the main quest to prevent a possible progression break, where before you could pretty much just fail the Easter egg in its entirety. They've now fixed it. Very good change there. But speaking of another very good change and fix that a lot of people have experienced and weren't very happy with, is in regards to the D.I.E Easter egg on the map itself, where players were experiencing issues related to that Easter egg where the dragon just wouldn't take off, wouldn't give you any kind of reward for completing it. Treyarch has claimed they fixed this issue, saying they've addressed a rare or not so rare issue that could cause the dragon to freeze during the D.I.E pinball minigame. So hopefully now no one has to worry about the dragon's failure to launch, and you'll be able to get your reward for completing this egg each and every single time. Beyond that, as of this update, Treyarch has enabled Forsaken to be played locally. This is usually done to prevent people playing the map early when it initially gets pre-downloaded. Now taking a look at the enemies section specifically for the new DLC map Forsaken, where Treyarch has made some changes. First of all, they say that they've addressed an issue that sometimes caused incorrect zombies pathing in the main street space. So zombies wouldn't either path to you correctly or they'd path to you in an indirect way. Treyarch has claimed to fix this, probably eliminates some kind of glitch spot that players have found in the main street area of the map. Now they've also made a whole bunch of changes to the new boss zombie introduced into Forsaken called the Abomination, where first of all Treyarch claims that they've added stability fixes related to the Abomination. I would assume some players' games have been crashing on Forsaken, possibly in part to the Abomination and its animations. So hopefully if you're experiencing crashing issues on the map, maybe this update would have fixed it. Next, Treyarch also claims to fix an issue that a lot of players have sent me and have experienced, where they say that they've addressed an issue that allowed the Abomination to push players out of the playable area, where if you're unfortunate enough to bear the wrong end of the charge ability of the Abomination, it could actually push you outside the bounds of the map, resulting pretty much in an insta-down and a game over. Now, a bit of spoilers, in a recent video we covered the teleporters on the map, seemingly pushing players outside of the bounds of the map. That issue is not covered in this update, so while that boundary break remains, the Abomination's ability to push you outside the map shouldn't be a problem anymore. And next they say they've addressed an issue that caused the Abomination's beam attack sound to be heard. That beam attack is super loud if you ever heard it in game. A very good change is when the Abomination is using it, you basically can't hear anything else. Speaking of changes to other boss zombies that appear on Forsaken, Treyarch does say that they've addressed a rare issue that would cause Tempest to follow players into the observation tower space, which is where Pack-a-Punch, PhD Slider, and the trial machines are located, where usually zombies can't spawn up there. Sometimes Tempests would be able to skirt that rule. No longer, now you're totally safe up there for sure. Next, in a small buff to the new perk PhD Slider, Treyarch says they've addressed an issue that could cause the player to take explosive damage when fully cooking a grenade with PhD Slider Tier 3 or higher equipped, which should negate explosive damage in its entirety. But before this patch, if you were to cook a frag for long enough time, you would still take explosive damage. Treyarch has said they fixed that as of this update. Next up, Treyarch decided to give us more details on how they've decided to buff the D.I.E wonder weapon, which made its first appearance in Die Maschine, but only as of the launch of Season 6 has been able to be upgraded. Where now for the first time, Treyarch is straight up telling us how they decided to buff this wonder weapon, especially as it increases in PAP levels. For the base unupgraded version of the D.I.E, it now receives a percentage of its max ammo capacity when an enemy is absorbed, as opposed to a fixed amount every time. This makes higher ammo capacity versions more viable, such as the D.I.E Electrobolt. Because the D.I.E Electrobolt has so much more ammo capacity and fires off that ammo capacity a lot faster than the base version, switching to be able to refill your ammo not based on a set amount but a percentage of the entire ammo capacity means that you'll be getting more ammo more quickly for higher capacity weapons like the D.I.E Electrobolt, a very good change. They've also, in an odd move, increased the base versions of the D.I.E's melee damage from 145 to 160. So if you're just a mad lad and want to go around meleeing people with your wonder weapon, you'll be doing slightly more damage because of it now. They've also made some changes to the D.I.E Electrobolt weapon itself, and specifically, firstly, where they say that the D.I.E Electrobolt increases movement speed when firing to 100% of base. So we've seen some footage of this in the past. You're basically going to be moving a whole lot faster when firing off the D.I.E Electrobolt than you will with pretty much any other weapon. But to kind of counterbalance the buffs that the D.I.E Electrobolt specifically has received, both in movement speed and the ability to get ammo more quickly, Treyarch says this: the D.I.E Electrobolt now consumes more ammo for level 2 and level 3 energy beams, as it increases the amount of ammo you spend the longer the trigger is held. So a little bit of a drawback for the buffs they're giving it if you decide to hold down the trigger on the Electrobolt for those level 2 and level 3 energy beams. For the pack-a-punch version specifically for the D.I.E, they let us know something that players actually figured out on their own, where they say that the dead vacuums up 3 enemies at a time as opposed to 2 at slightly increased damage as a percentage to the enemy's max health. Players have figured this out by themselves when Season 6 initially launched, but they also changed the movement speed for certain variants of the D.I.E, increasing it a little bit for the D.I.E Glaciator, pumping it up by a lot for the dead Jolt Surge. That's the upgraded version of the Electrobolt, increasing to 125% base of movement speed while firing it, meaning you can rock and roll around the map with this thing. Next within this update, Treyarch reveals their plans for how they're going to handle the reveal of Vanguard Zombies. And it includes something that we already knew they were going to release. The worldwide reveal trailer is already almost able to be seen on YouTube. It's just over 2 minutes long, but it won't actually unlock until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But later in the day, beyond the release of the actual trailer, Treyarch says, get ready for the full behind-the-scenes trailer later in the day. We can't wait to share what the team's been working on for this new chapter of the Dark Aether story. Beyond the actual initial trailer we get in the morning, Treyarch will reveal a behind-the-scenes trailer with the developers to hopefully flesh out and explain some of the more interesting ideas that we might be introduced to within that trailer. Next up, turning on the power is become kind of like a quintessential experience of every single Zombies map, and on Die Maschine it's no different. Well, for some Zombies players, that's for a good reason, as this Redditor figured out that when he turned the power on, he was in for a bit of a light show with a whole bunch of texture glitches appearing around the particle accelerator room, honestly making it look pretty cool. Can't say that I'd want Die Maschine to look like this all the time, but forget the traditional coffin dance Easter egg on the map. With these colors, this game is where the real party is at. But moving on to one of your guys' favorite segments and one of mine, it's time for Outbreak versus Vehicles. But with a twist, as this is not Outbreak, where since the ACXD or the RCXD has been introduced into the Zombies mode, specifically on Forsaken, since it is a vehicle, it apparently is also subject to all of the other wacky vehicle physics that we've seen throughout Cold War Zombies, and of course here on Forsaken, Reddit user Akari Vismund experienced it for themselves, sending their RCXD into the heavens into one wild ride on the roof of the actual compound. Apparently it doesn't matter whether you're playing Outbreak or round-based maps, vehicle physics are vehicle physics, and they're bound to be wacky here in Cold War. But guys, that wraps up the news today. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hey, consider leaving a thumbs up on the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The full reveal of Vanguard Zombies is almost upon us, and I'm excited to see what exactly Treyarch has cooking up for us for the next year. But I want to thank you again for watching, and I'll see you with another Zombies news video tomorrow. Peace.